flow.
Welcome to episode 158 of the Gluttons For Punishment Podcast, or GFP, a Toronto Maple Leafs and NHL podcast hosted by Michael Lepore and Anthony Bruno. Thank you so much for listening and watching us on YouTube as well. We are recording this podcast before the Leafs take on the Dallas Stars on Wednesday night. So just wanted to throw that out there. But we have a lot to get into because since we last recorded, Anthony Stolarz, it was announced that he is out 4 to 6 weeks with a knee injury after he was leading the NHL in save percentage. The Leafs are loading up their top line against Dallas. Marner-Matthews, Nylander. We have not seen this outside of a few shifts here and there when the Leafs are trailing late in games or when they need a little offensive spark. So by the time this goes up, maybe we'll have an answer as to whether that line dominated or not. But we're going to go over that and a lot more, including the future of John Tavares, who is on fire this year. So we definitely have to talk about that as well. But before we get into all that, it is time to officially welcome in my partner in crime, Mr. Michael Lepore. How you doing today, man?
Anthony Bruno, absolutely ecstatic to be here. Recording a pod, gonna watch a Leafs game and then head out for a late night beer league game. Lepore still holding on the dream that there's gonna be like a Leaf scout at Carleton University watching Division 8 men's beer league hockey, try and find the next star winger. But I'm excited, man. Leafs, a lot to talk about with the Leafs. You mentioned Stolarz, you mentioned Tavares, you mentioned going heavy with the top line. So good times in Leafland, lots of content.
Let's start things off with the goaltending situation. Stolarz out 4 to 6 weeks with a pebble in his knee? What the fuck is that? A pebble in his knee? I guess it's like a bone spur or something floating around in his knee. Anyway, he's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks. Not good news, to say the least, considering he was playing out of his mind to start the season. What are your thoughts right now on where things stand? Because I will tell you, I don't trust Joseph Woll to stay healthy, ever. He has a great opportunity in front of him right now, but what are your thoughts on the goaltending situation?
So yeah, you finished the sentence. I don't have confidence in Joseph Woll to stay healthy. But if he does stay healthy, Bruno, how do you feel? You're okay?
If he stays healthy, I'm totally fine because he's also been playing very well.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm the same way. And I think it's probably because we've dealt with this before. I feel like 3 of the last 4 seasons, we'd have to go over it. We've kind of had goalie emergencies where we've had to figure shit out. And for the most part, it hasn't gone too poorly when guys have come in and been given opportunities. Like, remember, like Källgren, like coming in,
God,
like,
Eric Källgren.
Yeah, like whatever we had to do to get a goalie in and win, we did. Wall can play the games. I'm okay with it. Like you said, his health is a big concern because what he's dealt with in the past. I thought Hildeby looked absolutely awful in the last game against Buffalo. Just clean shots beating him. Hopefully that was just a one-off because he has been decent when he's been in. Save percentage is a team stat. It's a team stat. Unless the numbers are really, really bad for Toronto over this stretch of games where they'll be without Stolarz. Part of the blame will be on the goalies who go in, but a part of the blame will be on the team. That's how I feel about it. So I'm not overly worried.
Yeah, like I said, I think the only thing that would have me saying, oh, this team is absolutely screwed is if Joseph Woll gets injured, which could happen at any moment. Yeah. I mean, by the time this podcast goes up, maybe he's already pulled a groin against Dallas. I don't want to put any bad juju out there, but it's just very hard to be confident in this guy to stay healthy given his track record. But he has an amazing opportunity. It was kind of the opportunity that he had to start the season where he went into the year. He was supposed to be the number one. Stolarz was supposed to be the veteran behind him, the steady number 2 who could come in and play, 30, 35, maybe 40 games. That did not go according to plan for Joseph Woll, but now he has a great opportunity in front of him because, based on the way Hildeby's been playing, just looking at his NHL stats, 3 games this year, .875 save percentage, 3.68 goals against. That is terrible.
Yeah,
So
small sample size.
Small sample size, but I don't think Hildeby is going to threaten Joseph Wall in terms of stealing the number one job. So as long as he stays healthy, he continues playing the way he's been playing, the Leafs should be fine. But I'm not going to lie, I am a little concerned that a random injury could pop up out of nowhere.
Yeah. Thing with Hildeby and how much he's going to play during the stretch too. The Leafs have, I think, a few back-to-backs over that stretch. I think they have like three. Three sounds right to me. I was going over the schedule. I'm pretty sure they lead the league in back-to-backs. Awesome. Way to go, NHL. Way to stick it to the Leafs. But yeah, so he's going to get his opportunities too to show that he's a legit National Hockey League goalie. And like people have said, right, with this goalie depth that Toronto has, Stolarz and Wall have been good. All three goalies who've played in the AHL this season have been good. Can we trade one of them? Has been the question, right? Apparently there were calls last year for Hildeby. Teams interested. So if this kid comes in and he even does okay and shows he can keep up at the National Hockey League level, I don't know, maybe it raises his asset value and he is a piece that can be moved at the deadline for something that we really need.
Yeah, the goaltending depth is pretty solid. And you said it, the Leafs actually have two back-to-backs before the end of the year. So December 20th and 21st, and then December 27th and 28th.
Nice.
So Hildeby for sure is going to get into a couple of games. I think the Leafs will be fine given how good they've been defensively this year. I know some of their underlying defensive numbers maybe aren't as elite as the surface numbers indicate, but all in all, I do tend to agree with you, Lepore, how you say that save percentage is a team stat. The Leafs defensively this year, I think it's clear whether you've been watching them, looking at the numbers, they are way better than last year defensively. The area of concern has been up front. It's time for a quick break for a word about Manscaped. For some, it's the most wonderful time of the year. And for others, it's just another round of dodging questions about your love life while trying not to look like you just crawled out of a cave. Enter the Performance Package 5.0 Ultra by Manscaped to save you this holiday season. Get your bushes under control with the Weed Whacker 2.0 and the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. So many amazing products from Manscaped. And remember that you can get 20% off and free shipping using our exclusive code GFP20 at manscaped.com. Lepore, Manscaped just doesn't miss, man.
Man, it's the holiday season. You need to get someone a gift. Think of all the crappy things people have given you in the past and you've given others in the past. Don't do it again. Go to manscaped.com, type in the promo code GFP20 for free shipping and 20% off, and make the person that opens that present ecstatic.
Give that special man in your life exactly what they actually need to look and feel their best. So, use our exclusive code GFP20 for 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. Head to manscaped.com and get 20% off and free shipping using our exclusive code GFP20. And that brings us into our next conversation, because we have not seen this at all, at least on a consistent basis, where the Leafs have loaded up the top line with Matthews, Marner, and Nylander. I cannot wait to watch this tonight. Yeah. And I hope that they actually stick with this for an extended period of time. And when I say extended period of time, maybe not the entire season, but at least for 2 or 3 games so we can see what comes out of this. Maybe it completely blows up in their face, but I absolutely love this because as things stand right now, offensively, this team is still not very good. So why not give it a shot? Why not go the Boston model, the Bergeron, Marchand, and Pasternak line? Why not try it with these forwards who combined make like $35 million? So where do you stand on the loading up the top line strategy?
It's fun and it's exciting. And I'm sure it's something people do when they play video games. But I feel weird about it, Bruno. I mean, the first most obvious thing is, okay, well, now you're removing from the depth straight out. Like that's Toronto pays these guys all that money. And the way I've always seen it is they do that so one or two star players are pretty well always on. So take that, deal with that. You remove that from the equation. And then there's also the matter of style. Like you mentioned, Marchand, Pastrnak, Bergeron. To me, those are three very different players. And it's not even debatable. They are. You have one guy who is one of the best defensive centers in the history of the game. Pastrnak a scorer, and Marchand, who's the rat. Everyone knows. So to me, it's perfect, right? With Nylander, Marner, Matthews, there's only one puck, right? It's funny because I see, okay, Nylander and Matthews are both shooters, right? Marner's a passer, but Marner holds on to the puck. He likes to delay, but so does Nylander. So I'm not too bullish on it, and people might be surprised at that. Because it's hard. It's hard to make lines. It's hard to put guys with good players. They say sometimes that's very difficult for coaches. So now you have three guys of that caliber. I don't know how this is gonna go. I do not know how this is gonna go, but it's gonna be a fucking blast to watch. That's for sure.
I'm surprised. I thought you were going to be a little bit more bullish on this. Like I'm very bullish on this because they were getting jack shit out of their bottom six. Basically, I mean they've been getting jack shit out of their bottom six the entire season. By the way, shout out Max Domi, who finally decided to score a goal.
Woo!
For the love of God. One goal in 23 games. One goal, 7 assists, 8 points in 23 games. When he scored, I actually tweeted out Max Domi finally deciding to get paid for more than just cardio and posting playoff hype videos on IG.
Look at you, eh? Sticking it to Max.
Yeah, that's basically what he was getting paid $3 million a year to do. So he finally decided to get on the board. Listen, I love this because I love the idea of being the aggressor, of being the team that is making the other team react to you and think about what you're doing offensively. So going into this game tonight against Dallas, and again, we're going to post this after this game finishes. So we'll see what happens tonight against Dallas. But you got to think they're thinking, holy shit, these guys are loading up the top line. We got to do X, Y, and Z to slow them down. We have to match up this line against them the entire night. We got to try our best to have this, this defense pair out there. I think that that factor really weighs on the opposing team. And again, who knows what the chemistry is going to look like, but they've gone to these guys in a pinch. We've seen it in several 6-on-5 situations, pulling the goalie. I know that's a little bit different because you're up a man, but we've seen it when the Leafs have needed an offensive spark. And I am so fired up to see this for an entire game and hopefully longer than that, because maybe they do find something that's just absolutely magical. And you know what? It's like this whole time, Lepore, they've been playing together for 8 years. And it's like, no coach ever thought about doing this for an extended period of time.
Yeah.
I know it's going to hurt the depth a little bit. And maybe there's going to be even more pressure on John Tavares, who's been excellent this year. And we'll get to that. But it's like, holy shit, it took 8 years for this to happen. That's where I stand on this. How did no one just say, fuck it, I'm going to experiment with this for like 5 games? Crazy.
Did they not do it briefly against Columbus in that playoff series? It's ringing a bell.
You could be right. You could be right. I don't remember it ever happening, playoffs or a regular season, for more than like a game.
Yeah.
Or a few shifts, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Or a period.
Well, maybe it's wrong. I don't know. Maybe it's a bad thing.
There's professional coaches out there who get paid a shitload of money to make these decisions, and not one of these coaches has said, you know what? We're going to put our 3 highest paid forwards, 3 of the top 15 to 20 forwards in the world, all on the same line together. None of these coaches have decided to do that.
It's funny.
Berube decided to do that.
I was just thinking that I'm kind of nervous about it. And then I kind of looked at it from the outside and wondered if I'm galaxy braining this thing, because what's coming up, Bruno? The Four Nations, right? And you look at these lineups, the rosters were released, and they're fucking all-star teams, top to bottom, right? And you have heard rumblings before that it's hard to find someone who can play with Sid, this and that. But essentially, most of the lines are similar to Matthews, Marner, Nylander in the way of talent. And no one's there thinking, oh, this isn't going to work. So, maybe I sort of convinced myself while analyzing it. But again, I can't. Maybe I'm just afraid. Maybe I'm just afraid of seeing it fail. It'll just be a bad look. Maybe it's that. Or maybe it's the Leaf fan in me. But I don't know, Bruno. I'm very, very, very shaky. I'll be shaking that remote control watching the game tonight.
I'll go as far to say I think there's a 0% chance that this fails. And what I mean by that is that I would be absolutely floored, Lepore, if this game finishes Leafs Dallas and we look at the numbers after the game. I would be floored if they did not control the majority of shots.
Oh, yeah.
Scoring chances and high danger scoring chances at 5-on-5. That line. I'd be stunned. And listen, Dallas actually has a great team. They have a legit lineup. They have great forwards, great defense core, a lot of depth. But I don't care what they put together to match up against that line. There's no trio that team could put together. And I know they have a lot of good players that could control play at 5-on-5 against these three guys.
I think I did see a stat once that was 5-on-5 when all three of them are on, and their expected goals rate was like 70 or 80%. Because, like, yeah, they have the puck, right? You don't. So, yeah, Bruno, I hope you're right, man. You're a hell of a lot smarter than I am, and I hope you're right.
I don't know if I'm that much smarter than you, Lepore.
Oh, not that much, just a little. Fuck, man.
Jeez, man. But no, listen, like, again, I don't know if it's going to lead to goals. I don't know if it's going to lead to, a Leafs blowout. But again, I'd be stunned if that line does not control play at 5-on-5. And maybe I'll go as far to say I'd be stunned if they don't dominate play at 5-on-5. But again, they got to score too. And if they don't score, maybe you could chalk that up as a failure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that brings us into our next conversation, if I could speak. My goodness. I alluded to this a little bit earlier. Maybe one of the reasons that they're loading up this first line is because John Tavares has been playing so well. You have been in the camp that you like John Tavares. You would like to see the Leafs bring him back. Me, not so much. Yeah, I know. I just saw you look behind you there at your Tavares jersey on the wall. Whereas I have been Mr. Anti-John Tavares, saying he sucks at 5-on-5, take the captaincy away from him, yada, yada, yada. I'll let you talk about this first. What are your thoughts on the way that number 91 is playing this season?
Well, it feels good, Bruno, being a John Tavares defender all this time and seeing him in year 7 of his deal. Year 7. Man, time goes fast. And the guy is on pace for 40 goals. He's looked amazing. He's looked fresh. There's no real debate. I mean, I think the people who argued against John Tavares continuing with this team were picturing a downfall. I mean, if he's producing at the clip he is now, and he's not going to get another 7-year deal, no one would be bothered if the price is right unless they blow up. This team blows up in the first round and it's disappointing. And then we just want to change for the sake of change. I think the bigger discussion here is, what is the reason for this? Why is John playing so well? And I think it's loaded. I think there are a few reasons. I think a big one is that you just finished talking about how the Leafs don't score as much as they have in previous seasons, but they're a hell of a lot defensively, a hell of a lot better defensively. And when that shows me, and just being a viewer, they're playing a much slower game. The Leafs are not the track meet team that we saw for years that's run and gun. And you said it, John Tavares in those situations, 5-on-5 is not a stud. I just think this is more suited for his game. I really do. But I think this is the talking point. This is what I'd like to ask you, Bruno. People are saying he's playing so well because the pressure's off because of the removal of the C. Okay. Is that a real thing, or is that just a narrative? Does John Tavares actually feel lighter because that C is not on his jersey?
First of all, Lepore, unlike the last segment, I will say you are actually much smarter than me because you have nailed this take on John Tavares. He's looked really good this year. To answer your question about the captaincy, it is so hard to quantify that, obviously. But I do think that there is something to that. I do think that he's feeling a little bit less pressure now that the C is off his chest. It's so hard. It really is so hard to actually quantify that. There's a lot of off ice obligations when you're the captain. There's just so much more that you have to deal with as the captain of the team. And maybe it's actually affecting Auston Matthews a little bit. Now, Matthews has also been banged up this year, which I would say has had a greater effect on the way that he's played. He's not playing close to the level we saw last year, but I also think that Matthews taking on more responsibility as the captain has impacted his play a little bit as well. So yeah, I do think that Tavares playing without that C on his chest has made him play a little bit more free. But I also love the point that you made about the run and gun and how the Leafs are playing a little bit more of a slower style this year. And that's way more conducive to a guy like John Tavares, who honestly needs to be playing like a dump and chase, cycle the puck, make plays in front of the net. That guy can't be, he's not a rush player. He's not a guy that's going to outskate anyone and create offense that way. He creates offense in those ways that I mentioned, right? So I think that's actually a really strong take from you there in terms of why he's playing so well this year.
Yeah, the thing is with Tavares, right? Like Tavares was that Toronto kid who, I remember reading about him, seeing interviews with him when he was like 13, 14. He was this phenom in the GTA. And ironic that the World Juniors are coming up and they're in Ottawa again. But the last time they were here, John Tavares was a part of that team. And here was this guy, slam dunk, first overall. Everybody wanted him. And the take, even at that time, was, and I even remember watching, and it's funny to say now because the game has changed. So like you noticed back then that he wasn't the best skater. I'm saying watching him live, playing for Canada, the reason why he was successful is because he physically dominated. He was a man amongst boys, that's saying, like poster boy for that. And it like I said, it is strange because, okay, here's this guy who's big, he's physical, he's strong, he can score, but he doesn't quite have the wheels. Think of if we said that now about a kid who's going first overall. No, that's impossible. He's so fast. He's just fast and crazy skill.
Can create offense out of nothing, right? Slam dunk first overall.
Yeah, funny how the game has changed in such a short time. But how about that fucking move? As if he didn't get that hat trick on that goal. That one-on-one move where he toe dragged and went to the backhand. Come on. Oh my God. And see, I don't know, man. Like I'm starting to think, you see these players and the ups and downs they go through. There has been times now, again, I've always defended John Tavares, but there have been times in his tenure in Toronto where he has looked old, like a non-factor, slow, not as aggressive as he should be. And then you see what he's doing this season and you almost question, how the fuck is that the same player? It can't be. So it makes you think deeper, right? Were these guys, like whoever we're talking about Tavares here, but was JT dealing with a certain injury at those times where we thought that, or something personal? Who knows? We've all gone through personal stuff and it affects you, man. It affects you. You play best when you're happy. When you're not happy, you're not going to win. Ask the New York Rangers, right? So it makes you wonder, man. But right now he's in year 7 of the deal, year 7. And he's on, I think he's only at 40 once, right? With Toronto, the first year with 47.
47, playing with Marner all year.
And I don't think it's a slam dunk he gets 40, but for him to do this in year 7, we would have think of it that way, Bruno. People shit on his contract. Okay. If someone said 7 years ago in year 7, JT's going to put up 40, we'd be like, well, fuck. Okay. Like think of it that way. The moon. Think of it that way. If he finishes this deal in that way, like we've joked before about how the take of the Tavares signing was a bad one, and how are we going to look at this signing years from now? And again, it'll be all be based on the playoffs, but you can't say it was a disaster if in year 7 of the deal he pushes 40 goals.
No, he's shutting people up like me each and every night he steps on the ice. You know who I compare him to all the time is Steven Stamkos, because they are the exact same age. They were both first overall picks. Both guys not considered burners. I know Stamkos is more of a shooter and a goal scorer. Tavares not necessarily the same player. But isn't it interesting how it seemed like Stamkos, as he got older, he was still maintaining a pretty high level of play. Like you look at Stamkos his last 3 years, 81 points, 84 points, 106 points, 40 plus goals twice. This year, he has fallen off a cliff. I completely understand he's changed teams. The Predators are a disaster. But Stamkos, 8 goals in 32 games this year, 18 points. Whereas Tavares is having this renaissance. As you said, on pace for 40 goals. He's got 28 points in 30 games. Just had a hat trick in the Leafs last game, pulling off moves that we saw him pull off in his mid-20s. Like it's honestly, it's wild. It is wild. And I'll be the first one to admit, if he's going to continue playing like this, if he's actually found something here, I've been on the record as saying they need to get rid of him. I will admit, maybe I'm not going to go totally to the other side, but it is making me rethink my take that I want to just completely send this guy out of town, no matter what. If he's going to continue playing like this, I am starting to consider Lepore re-signing him. Where do you stand on that?
Oh, you know me, I want him back. Give him the deal, sign him till he's 41 at a reasonable price, and he can go on LTIR, or, it's top heavy money, and it is what it is. And I think that's what we're all hoping for, like that type of deal. Like I've heard people throw numbers of like 8 million a year. I'm like, no. Like I'm not doing that. I'll do less, but again, I'll give him the term. I'll sign him for forever. And then the Leafs can just pay for it out of their pocket. The mental comparisons I've made to Tavares, and it's part of just being in Ottawa and watching games live, is I was kind of comparing him to Claude Giroux. And I don't mean directly, like you said with Stamkos, Giroux and Tavares are very different players. But this is year 3 of Giroux's deal. It's funny how hockey works, man, because I remember watching over the last 2 years, and it's not even just about points. It was about the skating. It was about the style. I would have said I'd take Giroux. I would have.
People probably wouldn't have faulted you for saying that.
I think so. So, like, again, and this is me watching live, and man, Giroux looks silky smooth, and he still got his legs, and he's older than Tavares. He's 36, I think. Tavares is still 34.
Yeah, he's 2 years older than Tavares.
Yeah, so, like, to me, that was always kind of a kick in the nuts. It's like, fuck, John's making 11 million. This guy's making what, 5.5. He's 2 years older, and he looks as good, if not better than him. But hockey's strange, man. We would have said the same thing about Stamkos. Now you fast forward a few months, and the tables have turned. Giroux's been pretty quiet. I mean, Sens fans aren't really shitting on anybody right now because they're on cloud 9, but Giroux hasn't had the impact he's had in previous seasons. That's not a knock on him. He's 36 years old and he's still putting up numbers. He's a great player. I'm just saying it goes back to the point of, what guys are dealing with. Maybe Giroux's dealing with something this year, right? And things just aren't gunning for him. But I'm just happy about it. Like, yeah, anyone, even if you're not the person who's the biggest fan of John Tavares, and when I say that, I mean, the signing, or if he should re-sign, he's kind of a guy, no one hates John Tavares, and everyone kind of roots for him. So to see him have a season like this, you're happy for him. Come on.
No, I agree. Listen, as much as I've ripped on the guy and said, like, he sucks at 5-on-5 and they need to move on and strip the C. And yeah, they ended up stripping the C off of his chest, but I'm not out here actively rooting against him. Like, it's really hard to hate that guy. I mean, he's like a model citizen, seems like a great dude. All of his teammates love him. I'm not out here being like, screw John Tavares, like, as a person. I mean, seems like a hell of a guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he's shut me the hell up with the way he's been playing. But what's like the walk away number? Like, if he's going to say, I want to come back, but I want this number, and you're saying absolutely no chance am I going higher than that.
Mm, 6
Okay.
ish, or in and around there. That's like, I think is high. Like I'd like it to be start with a 5, but I
Yeah.
could probably stomach like, and again, it's about the term, right? And that's why I think it will be a deal like I described, because let's say he comes in, he's like, oh, I want 7.5. Well, I'm not giving you term then, John, because we don't know how this can turn around. Well, where's your number?
It's so tough. Like, what did Stamkos sign for? Was it like 4 years, 8 million a year
Yeah, big
with
money.
Nashville?
But I
And
felt uncomfortable with that deal too. Everyone's going nuts. I'm like, 8 million. He's not young,
yeah,
man.
that's not that already looks like it's aging terribly. I think the
Tell me
Leafs got
about
to
it.
be careful with Tavares because he could use that again. Like, it's all again, it's not a perfect comparison, but it's a pretty good person to compare himself to. Same age, first overall picks, similar production. Uh, I fear that he's going to use Stamkos as a comparable. I don't know how far that's actually going to get him. I'm kind of in the same boat as you, Lepore. I think even 6 is too high. I'd be very careful right now. Like my walk away might even be like 5, 5.5, because we've
Mm.
seen it before with Tavares, where sure the first half of the season he shows flashes, and then as the year goes on, he kind of slows down. So
Well,
I'd
I'll
be
put it this
very
way then.
careful.
I'll ask you, BK. So you said your walk away. Your walk away. You said is what, 5.5 in and
Yeah, if
around
he's
there?
asking for like a 4 year deal at like, I don't know, man, 5.5, 6 million, geez, I might walk away.
Well,
It,
Bruno,
it
I'll put
also
it
depends what other options are there to
up.
replace him with.
If your walk away is 5.5, I'll ask you, what would you say if he's like, hey guys, I'll take 4.5? Like now we're getting low. He's not
Yeah.
going to take, so for to walk away at five
If
and a
he
half.
says I'll come back for 4 million AAV, I mean, how do you not
Yeah, but
sign that immediately?
that's ridiculous. And I do think it'll be a deal where like like I said, he's turning 35. He's gonna I'll get 6 years, like somewhere between 30 and 35 million. So you got your money, John. And let's be honest, the Leafs have some leverage here because John Tavares doesn't want to go anywhere. But Bruno, on the show, we have a trade in the National
Oh,
Hockey League, and
wow.
it's kind of a big one. It's not a small one, no small potatoes. Isn't it hilarious when Batman gets on the mic during the draft? And it's like, we have a trade to announce, and it's like the Nashville Predators have traded their 5th rounder and 6th rounder for San Jose's 4th rounder. It's like, thanks, Gary. Awesome. I'm glad we stopped everything so
Thanks
you
for
could.
that dog shit trade, Gary.
Yeah, I'm glad we stopped everything so you could hear the sound of your own voice. But the New York Rangers have acquired defenseman Will Borgen, a 2025 third round pick, and a 2025 sixth round pick in exchange for Kaapo Kakko.
Just saw the notification come through as well. I will say I'm not surprised, given that the Rangers just seem to really want to shake up the team
Oh,
after they
Jesus.
basically forced Truba out of town. And then Kako had those comments the other day where he was pissed off
Yeah.
about being a healthy scratch. And next thing you know, he's shipped out the door to the Seattle Kraken.
Yeah, but he's been
Um,
shit, though. He's been a big
oh,
disappointment,
yeah.
man.
Second overall pick. And
Yeah.
he has done jack shit in his NHL career. Listen, it's not like he's been terrible, but my God, when you're the second overall pick, you gotta be better than that. I know there's been a lot of busts along the way. I don't want to go as far as, you know what? Shit, you could call him a bust.
Oh,
You
he's a
really could.
bust. Fucking right, he's a
Yeah,
bust.
you're right. I mean, I should be a little bit stronger with that take. He's a bust. Second overall pick. Like, has he ever scored more than 20 goals?
Oh,
Let me check
no.
that real quick.
I don't think so. But you know what he is, though, right? It's a new era thing where he he was kind of like that YouTube superstar. Like, remember, like Kaapo Kakko highlights of him just hitting clap bombs, like from the off point and all that, scoring these goals, celebrating, and people just got infatuated with that. And I sometimes look at who these teams draft in these spots, and it's almost like, thank God it didn't work out. Because like the Rangers, yeah, they're going through what they're going through now, but Lafreniere and Kaapo Kakko, okay. Let's take a look. Like Lafreniere, he's kind of turned it around. He looks like he's going to be a solid NHL player, and he's a great player 5-on-5. But I mean, the hype around him was insane. Um, let's look around the last few years and look at other guys that were picked at 1 and 2. Can you imagine the Rangers would have done that?
Like, imagine they get Matthews. They get a Matthews and take your pick at number 2, right? A McDavid and take your pick at number 2 instead of those two guys.
Even like a defenseman, if they would have got, I'll even say, even if they would have got like a Dahlin would have been more insulated with the Rangers, and at second overall, you get
like Jack Hughes and Dahlin.
Exactly. Fuck. Good night. League shut the league down. So funny how it works. Funny how it works sometimes in our favor.
Yeah, Kakko, career high of 18 goals. He's only scored more than 10 goals 3 times. So I thought his numbers were actually, I was just trying to rack my brain to think about his numbers. They are way worse than I thought. He is a slam dunk bust at number 2 overall. Anyway, I love the breaking news there. But is there anything else you want to get off your chest before we wrap up this podcast?
You know what's weird? After we just finished shitting on Kaapo Kakko and what he's done so far in the NHL, I don't think that's a bad trade for Seattle. He's got a fresh start.
Why not take a chance on the guy?
Yeah, he's got a fresh start. Seattle's a team that can skate. Who knows? They put him with the right guys. He gets an opportunity.
He's only 23.
Yeah, well,
23.
I was gonna say maybe we see a situation like Lafreniere where it takes them a little more time to develop. And people will say it if this is a real thing, and this is debatable. The COVID thing. Players who went through those development years during COVID, like missed a year of junior or their rookie season. So I'll be rooting for them. And I don't know why. I kind of like Seattle. I like watching Seattle. They're fun.
Yeah, best of luck, Kaapo Kakko, turning around your career after, yes, you were an absolute slam dunk bust over your first 5+ seasons. This is year 6 in the NHL. All right. Well, anyway, that's going to do it for episode 158 of the Gluttons For Punishment Podcast, or GFP, a Toronto Maple Leafs and NHL podcast hosted by Michael Lepore and Anthony Bruno. If you really enjoyed this episode, whether you're a new listener or a longtime listener, you have no idea how much it helps if you give us a 5-star rating and review on either Apple or Spotify. It really helps the podcast so much. And if you're watching on YouTube, the same thing. If all you do is smash the like button, that would be outstanding. But on top of that, if you want to leave a comment with some of your takes below, even better, hit the subscribe button if you really enjoyed the show today. That would work wonders. And then you could always ring the notification bell if you want to know exactly when the GFP podcast is posting some new content. So for Michael Lepore, I'm Anthony Bruno. Enjoy the Leafs hockey, and we will be back to chat with you very, very soon. And also, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Enjoy
Happy
the hockey.
Hanukkah, all that stuff.
All that stuff. Enjoy your time with family. And we'll be back for some burning hot Leaf takes.
Yeah.
Very, very soon.
Thanks, everyone.